What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Stan Lee Cameos. Hopefully you can hear me. We had a little bit of technical difficulties getting started up, so let me know if you're in the live chat and you can hear me. Today I've got my good friend Austin Emery Smith. I don't know if I've ever said his last name, but Austin is here, and he's he's going to talk about Stan Lee Cameos with me. What a weird video, Austin. What is this?
It's one of the best comic creators of all time. Enough said.
Exactly. So not really physical media we're talking about tonight, but I mean, all of these movies are out on physical, so it connects to the channel. It's fine. We've talked about Marvel stuff plenty. I'm wearing a Marvel hoodie. He's wearing a red jacket, so it all connects. So we're just
I got The Thing. I got Kurt Russell, who was in a Marvel movie.
there you go, full circle. But yeah, so we're just gonna. I thought this would just be a fun video for us to do. We were talking about something to do over the long weekend, and we're like, let's just do that. We talked about doing this a while ago. This is actually supposed to be like my 15th video. It was supposed to be like a long time ago, and then stuff came up. We couldn't get our schedules to connect, and we're finally doing it. Sorry about my voice tonight. I have a little bit of a sore throat. I woke up. I don't know why. Something was going on. I'm drinking some hot tea to hopefully alleviate that a little bit. But yeah, I sound a little bit weird. People are already talking about it in the chat. It's a big thing. But hopefully it's not too bad. And Austin will be talking for half the time, so you can listen to his lovely voice.
Yeah, exactly. A voice that I'm surprised anybody likes to listen to, because I certainly don't.
All right. Well, do you have any preamble? I mean, this was actually harder than I thought. Like my top 5 was pretty easy. I just knocked them out. But then once you at a certain point, they're all just little jokes and they're kind of hard to compare. They're kind of hard to put one over the other. If it just makes you laugh, I guess that's fine. So the last few picks were hard for me. What about you?
No, I had the same thing. I had my last, or my top few. I kind of knew coming into it. I was like, okay, this will probably be there. This is gonna be there. And then the bottom ones I kind of struggled with. At least there's a whole early era where it's he's just kind of in the background. You can kind of throw those out. That's
Yeah.
not gonna make my list. So at least there's some stuff like that. A big interesting thing for me, I don't know if you have this, DJ, is that a lot of the stuff on my list are movies that I don't really like.
Yeah, I have some of that. I have a good bit of that.
Yeah, I feel like just looking at my list, I have what, one, two, three, maybe 3 or 4 that are movies that I like a lot.
Yeah, I try to just go with the cameo itself, pulled out of it. Sometimes I like to talk about how it's incorporated, because sometimes it's incorporated better. But yeah, some of them are movies that I haven't even gone back to really. But yeah, we'll talk about it. But yeah, let's just jump into our top 10 Stan Lee cameos of all time. What's your number 10, man?
My number 10 is X-Men Apocalypse, which
Which
is
is a movie
not
you love.
which is a movie that I absolutely adore. Exactly. It's not one of his best cameos. I think the big thing that I like about it is that it's one of the only ones that has his wife in it.
Yeah.
And just something about that I really like. I really like just the image of them kind of standing together and kind of watching the nukes go off.
Yeah, I considered that one because of that reason, because of his wife, but it's so cheesy. The music that's playing in the background during that scene is no. I think there's a choir singing and stuff, and there's nukes flying. So it got bumped down too far for me. But yeah, I totally get putting it there because she finally got to be in one. It was really nice.
Yeah, no, it's entirely because of that for me. It's not, like I said, it's not one of his best ones, but I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I think that's fun.
that's cool. All right. Well, my number 10 is another weird one, so feel free to make fun of me if you want to. My number 10 is Big Hero 6. What a weird... Okay, so several reasons. One, this is technically based on a Marvel property. Everyone's like, well, that's technically based on a Marvel property, but barely. It has barely any resemblance to those comics at all. And no one was talking about that when it came out. So when it came out, I was not expecting a Stan Lee cameo in this. And then, you've seen this, right? No, it's the big. It's right before the final battle. He's his dad, and his dad shows up to like give him the courage to go into battle, and it really caught me off guard, and I was like, I freaked out in the theater because I wasn't expecting it, and it's also just really funny to hear Stan Lee talking about like wearing underwear frontwards and backwards and inside out and stuff. So I don't know, that one got me, and I also think that Stan Lee's voice, like across the board, always sounds better in animation. I don't want to insult the man as he's passed on, but like he's not an actor, so sometimes the line deliveries aren't great. But it sounds for some reason whenever he's in animation, they get better performances out of him. I don't know. So that's my number 10, Big Hero 6. No, that's true. Yeah, and that's another reason why I wanted you on this video, because I feel like our lists are going to be very different. We might not have any crossover. I mean, we might because they're all Marvel movies, but like,
Yeah, there's enough there that I think there's probably certain things that you and I will definitely agree on.
yeah, I feel like
Absolutely.
you'll have a more different list than say if I did this with Connor or someone else. But so I'm glad to have you here, because you like weird things, and that's my number 10, Big Hero 6. Look at it, matches all the colors tonight. Matches your jacket perfectly.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, I got blue pants too. Isn't it like red and blue?
Yeah. Uh-oh. Someone in the chat said, "Did Austin disappear?" Hopefully that's just a technical problem on his end, because I'm talking to him. He's here for me.
Yeah, that's my superpower actually. I can just do
Okay,
that.
well then that's good as long as it's planned. All right, what's your number
Yeah,
10,
no,
sir?
sorry. My number 10 is Avengers End Game, which it's again, it's a very short one. It's just like, a quick joke. But it did the thing that I wanted Captain Marvel to do, which is the like young Stanley appearance.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
And
Because he's like a
that's
'70s
why I
like
liked
hippie
that one.
guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they kind of dressed him up to look the way that he did back then. And I thought that was really
That's
fun
cool.
because that's what I really hoped Captain Marvel would do in the 90s, but they didn't do that.
Yeah. Well, the problem is in the '90s he looked exactly the same. He's looked the same for like 50 years, but in the '70s he looked very different.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's a cool one. And what's interesting is he was also in the '70s. I don't think it was '70s. The '70s, the Hulk show was in the '70s, but I think the movie sequels were in the '80s when he came in. He was in those.
Yeah, I want to say the movies were in the 80s
Yeah.
because he's in what? Trial of the
Yeah.
Incredible
And
Hulk,
that's the
right? So
early
that's already
days.
the second
Yeah, that's the
movie.
early days where he's just like
Yeah,
standing, just standing. Those were his cameos back then.
yeah,
He just stood there.
yeah, and that was the one with Daredevil in it too. And you got John Rhys Davies, Gimli. He's the Kingpin in it.
Oh, weird. What? Are you serious?
Yeah,
That's
that movie's
Gimli?
strange. Yeah, yeah, they Gimli plays Kingpin in that movie.
Ooh, hold on a second. I won't use that camera again. Someone, yeah, they can't hear you when it's on just my camera because I
Oh,
forgot to add you. It's totally on my end. Don't worry about it. I just won't switch back to that camera. We'll just use the split screen. But yeah, that's your number. That's
okay.
your number 9. All
Hmm.
right.
Yep.
My number 9 is the first. This is the only one on my list that's just a joke. That like this is the only reason I can really have any reason. It's just a joke that I laughed at. Other than that, it's not much else. It's the first Avenger, Captain America, the first
Oh,
Avenger.
yeah.
I think that's a funny line. It's like it comes right after that big triumphant moment where he saves everyone, and then it cuts immediately to the guy calling him out on stage, and he's not coming out. And then Stanley's like, "I thought he'd be taller."
Oh, First Avenger. Sorry, I got my wires crossed and thought you meant the first
Oh no no
Avengers.
no no.
First Avenger.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
first Avenger, Captain America, the first Avenger. Sorry, that's right. Austin can't see me this evening. That's why I'm holding up the Blu-ray. But yeah, first
yeah. Oh,
Avenger.
okay.
He's like, I thought he'd be taller, and I don't know. That made me laugh. It also fits in with like his whole backstory of being like that little shrimpy guy. And I don't know. I think it was a good joke. But other that's not
No, that was
really no
fun.
other reason to put it here besides that.
Yeah, that made my like honorable mentions. Like it's just kind of outside of my list, but that I do like that one a
Mm.
lot.
All right, well, that is my number 9. What's your number 8?
My number 8 is also just a joke that I think is kind of amusing, which is it's kind of funny. My last one was Endgame. It's Infinity War, where he's the bus driver.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
I remember that one.
just Stan Lee turning around and being like, "Why, you kids never seen a spaceship before?"
I know. His voice gets more Stan Lee-ish as the cameos go on. There's one that just missed my list. It's like my number 11. That's probably I'll mention it in honorable mentions or something. But it's that voice like to the extreme, and I love it. It might be on your list. So I'll talk about it then.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, like you said, a lot of them are just kind of jokes. Like they're just he gets that one line and he owns it, and you just kind of have to judge it based on that at a certain
Yeah,
point.
based on his delivery and what or lack of delivery compared to whatever. I'm interested to see which one you put on here for lack of delivery.
Oh yeah. No, it's always been one of my favorite ones because his acting in it is so funny. But what is your number 8? Is it my list is all weirdly numbered because I added stuff. I like numbered it and then added stuff in between when I thought of like, oh, this is actually better. But I never went back and corrected the number.
Yeah, mine is all I have. I'm lucky because I have all the Blu-rays right here, just in a stack. So I'm just going down the stack. Um,
Yeah, I just have it as a note on my phone, but it's like really badly made.
all right, my number 8, which I'm pretty certain is not on your list based on something you just said,
Oh,
is Captain Marvel. I actually
oh,
like this one. I
okay.
think this one's clever. If you guys don't remember, this is the one where Captain Marvel takes place in '95 and Mallrats takes place in 1995, and Stan Lee is literally on the train, like on the way to shoot the movie, I guess, or like he's got his script and he's like reading, or I guess he just got the script and he's like practicing well, actually, he has a lot of lines. Have you seen that movie? His cameos has like a bunch
I
of
have
lines.
not. I have seen his cameo,
It's like a whole
but
scene.
I've
He
never
gets like a
seen
whole
the movie.
scene in that movie. So he's practicing his lines on the train when Captain Marvel pops in. And I thought that was cool. I've never seen that before where like a cameo, like a meta cameo where he's like practicing his cameo in a cameo. I don't know. I think that's cool. I know some people didn't like that one, but I know you wanted to do a different cameo with him de-aging, but I thought that was a cool idea. And at least they were thinking and being clever.
No, I do still like that cameo. I just expected him to look younger. I like went in kind of thinking they would do
That's
that.
true.
That is a fun cameo. I don't know if you know they like reshot her reaction to him because he died like right before that came out, or
Oh.
like maybe like a few months beforehand. I think she was supposed to have more of like a um maybe like annoyed reaction or something when she looked at him, but then he died, so they gave like a it's a kind of like a
Yeah,
sweet
that makes
moment where she
sense.
looks and just smiles
That
at
makes
him.
perfect sense because I noticed that and they play like a score, like the score lifts up right there and it's like and then she has a nice little smile to him. I thought it was a nice moment. This is the first one. This is the first MCU movie after he died. Um
Yes, because this is the one that has the big Stanley opening.
yeah, so I was already feeling the feels at the beginning when I saw that and then when that scene came up and she smiles at him. I don't know. That one I really like that one. That one sticks with me. So
No, that's another one it would be honorable mentions. It's like just not
yeah, and
there,
if I had
but
seen
it's great.
Mallrats, it would probably mean even more to me because I would have, like, I knew the reference when I saw the movie, but I didn't like have that scene memorized because I haven't seen that movie. But I do need to see that movie. That's
Mhm.
everyone. I mean, that's a good movie just in general. People say, not necessarily just for the Stan Lee cameo. So we should both probably check that out at some point. But yeah, that's my number 8, Captain Marvel.
My number 7 is this one I actually expected to be higher up, and I'm like kind of debating with myself because I kind of went in thinking this is going to be maybe like in my top
Wow.
3, and it ended up just kind of getting pushed down. But I do like it a lot. I like all of these. But it's the Amazing Spider-Man one.
Yeah, I love that one.
Um, he, yeah, he doesn't say anything, but it also is just fun that he's just kind of there listening to music while there's this big fight behind
Yeah.
him. Like when that happened in the theater, I was like, hands down, you can't get better than this. This is perfect.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's one that I've heard, like, even people that don't like that movie, I hear talk about that one. That's really
Mhm.
cool. Um,
Yeah, I think like even if you think that movie's dull or whatever, like that cameo is just really fun. And like even if you're not really enjoying it in that movie, it kind of bumps up in that little
Yeah, and
moment.
he's like selling it too. He's like, he's like dancing as he walks. It's great.
Yeah, and he doesn't get to have like any lines or anything, which usually for me is like a point against it, but for that one it's like it really
Yeah,
works.
definitely. And I may say more about that one in a minute. Who knows?
I see. I knew we would
Yeah,
match at least on that. Not in
yeah, we're gonna
placing,
have
but
some, and
I
we
knew
didn't talk about
about
that
that thought.
beforehand. We may have should have, like played a trump card and like talked about it later. But these are so short, I don't think it's gonna be too big of a deal if I mention it again in a minute. But
Hmm.
my next one, I guess this is my number 7, and not to confuse you again, but it is another um, Captain America movie. So not the first Avenger, not the first Avengers. This is the Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier. This is going to start a trend on my list. I much prefer the cameos that are actually serve a purpose, and like that character would be there even if Stanley wasn't cameoing. Like he's
Hmm.
actually a part of the story instead of just like, oh, Doctor Strange flew into the car of a bus and there's just a guy standing and he's just there. Like it
Hmm.
doesn't serve any purpose.
No, I
So
agree.
this one is actually kind of like a. I guess this one's not. He doesn't really serve that much of a purpose. He's just kind of there when that's how you find out that the costume has been stolen, which is a great scene when you see that he's stolen his original costume and
No, it's a great
he's going to be
reveal.
wearing that.
Just a nice little
Yeah, it's
moment.
great. The reason it's not really high is because I don't think his performance is that great. He's like, oh no, I am so
I'm gonna
fired.
get fired.
I didn't even try to do an impression there, but because I don't want to be offensive to the guy, but yeah, like yeah, his performance kind of takes me out a little bit, but I think the scene is great, and he's great as a security guard. He's been a security guard a lot, and like a delivery man a lot. Like he
Has,
cycles
yeah.
through a few different professions and kind of and keeps going. But yeah,
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned like when he's like actually like a part of the scene or whatever. What always takes me out in Days of Future Past is there's that moment where Magneto walks out into the baseball diamond, and there's the like hot dog like vendor
yeah,
guy that I swear is supposed to be Stan Lee, but he's just not, and it's very strange.
weird. Well, he is a hot dog vendor in the first X Men, or some kind of vendor. I
Mhm.
don't know if it's specifically
Yeah,
hot
he's like
dogs.
at least cooking. Yeah, he's on the beach. He's just kind of in the
He's just like
background. You notice him or you don't.
staring at the fish man on the beach.
Yeah, exactly. Because I rewatched all the cameos before we did this just to kind of figure it
Yeah, me
out,
too.
and that was an immediate like, okay, yep, probably not reflected on this one
No,
again.
skip that one. Um, yeah, that was the early days where they didn't let him speak, man, which is weird because he's like the face of Marvel. He was always doing interviews and like he was the one who would like
Hmm.
speak for the company. It's weird that they wouldn't let him speak for a while, except for in '90s Spider-Man where he got to have like a whole episode.
Yeah, it is kind of strange, and he is just naturally funny, or like he can be.
Yeah,
So it is unfortunate
yeah, but I mean they're trying to be so serious with X-Men. That first X-Men film,
that is
they it
true.
was a different thing. Actually, throughout the X Men films, he never speaks really. Like X3, he just has like the water hose, and like Apocalypse, he just has like you said, they're just standing there. Does he ever speak in an X Men movie?
I don't think so.
Deadpool, he
I've never
speaks.
really thought about that, but now that you say it, yeah, I don't think he does in
Yeah,
Deadpool if that
yeah, Deadpool when
counts.
he's making
But
the that, but that's a
yeah,
joke scene. That's much different. But all the X Men movies, he's just kind of like I don't even know if he's in X2.
so just standing and looking. He's not. He like jumps around.
Yeah, he's in X3.
He's only in odd numbered
Yeah,
ones,
that's weird. He's in X1, X3. He's not in X2 or First Class.
and he's in
He's not in
Apocalypse.
the Days of Future Past or Wolverine movies. That's weird.
Hmm.
All right.
No, it's strange. So my
Oh yeah, it's your turn. I
number
almost went it. I almost went to my number
six.
6.
My number six is Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Oh, there it is.
Uh,
That was the one that just missed my list. Where he's like, Marjorie,
oh,
whatever he says.
how is your
Don't make me
mother?
come down. They're punk. Yeah, that's like,
Yeah, no, it's mainly for the Don't make me come down there, punk. That his delivery of that is so
Yeah,
good.
that was actually on my list. That was my number 10, and I bumped it off with Captain Marvel at the last minute. But yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
that one's great. I probably should have put that one on the list, but I'm glad you did because I wanted to talk about it because there's that meme that came of it, where he's like in the
Oh, yeah.
cloud.
Oh,
Like it's a sad meme. It was after he passed away, but um but yeah, that's a great one. I like that one because it's already in like a funny montage scene of just like a bunch of extras yelling at him anyway, so it fits in perfectly. It doesn't take me
yeah,
out.
and there's a Stan Lee Spider-Man scene that already kind of reminds me of that I think about every time that I see that movie, where he's just kind of swinging and he sees these guys and he's like, "Oh, they're gonna, go rob this bank. I need to stop them." And he jumps down and they're like, "Hey, like we're not even doing anything right now, so we can just, say that we're walking down the street." And then the cops come and they're like, "Hey, Spider-Man, you can't terrorize people on the street." So it's not the exact
Yeah,
scene, but like it reminds me of that already. So I like that Stanley is kind of like put into that kind of a context.
yeah. That would have been great if it was that scene and he was the police officer. He's like, you can't just harass people on the street.
Yeah, no, that would have been awesome. I also think that is one of the ones that was done by James Gunn, I think, because when they did Guardians 2, they had him film like 4 or 5 cameos,
Yes.
and I think that was one of the. Yeah, oh, it must have been because it was the next
Yeah,
movie.
that was when I was actually, which is weird. Yeah, when I was on the set of Spider-Man: Homecoming, which was 2016, the
Hmm.
the the head of the extras was just blabbing about everything. Like he was not keeping secrets, and he was just telling all of us kids like, "Yeah, we just shot all three. We had to shoot three because they didn't know how long it was gonna last, so they started like packing them
Yeah.
in." And he was talking about how they just had shot the Guardians 2 cameo and the Captain Marvel cameo. I think maybe
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh,
the
maybe
Ragnarok. Yeah, it was
Ragnarok,
Thor.
because that
Yeah, it
was that
was.
year
They
too.
just
Yeah.
shot all three of those. And he also told us that Michael Rosenbaum was in the. They shot with him, and he had like all these jewels, those like gems all over his face. So he told us a bunch of stuff like way before we were supposed to know any of that stuff. But I remember them shooting
Oh,
the
that's
the,
funny.
the cameos, and I wasn't obviously I wasn't. Obviously they didn't bring Stanley to that set when the extras were there. They shot that like on a totally different, probably in a different place. They probably didn't even shoot that in Atlanta, but yeah,
Yeah, they probably just put him in a green screen and they were like, "Okay, here's your lines.
yeah.
Boom,
Talk to
boom, boom."
Marjorie, and then and then you could go back home.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I remember when they announced that, I was like, "Okay, they're gonna start just stockpiling them, like just bring them in every now and then, and just kind of do a bunch of them." And I guess they never really did. Like they filmed a few, and then they were still just kind of filming them when they were coming.
Yeah, it's kind of cool that Endgame was his last one in the MCU.
Hmm.
I think that's perfect. It would have been weird if he was just in Far From Home.
Yeah, I always thought if they had stockpiled them, I always thought they should have saved whatever his last cameo is for their first Fantastic Four
Oh yeah,
movie. But Endgame is also a good one.
yeah. Well, it's weird because his last. I don't think this is gonna be on your list, so I'll go ahead and say it here. His last cameo is like in Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Like it's not even a Marvel
I
movie.
didn't even know until today that he had a cameo in
Yeah, it
that.
was in that video. I watched like a video of all of them together, and it was at the very end. I was like, "This is his last cameo." It's kind of funny though. I mean, so I don't.
No, it's a funny little moment.
It's just
It's just
weird.
it's strange to think
It's a
about.
weird thing. That's his legacy. Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Also, I did not remember how bad the Venom. Anyway, we'll talk. We can talk about this after we do our top 10. But my number 6 is Amazing Spider-Man. So yeah, here it is. That's why I didn't talk about it then because I'm going to talk about it right now. This is my favorite one that is just a joke. I'm a huge fan of like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin and that kind of like physical humor. So like if you can make like a great physical gag that doesn't really need any dialogue, it's just funny. And that's totally something that like Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin would have done back in the day. Is just like that's what they did. Like big explosions happening behind them, like they're completely like unbeknownst to them, or like when the big building falls down and he's like just standing in the window frame. Yeah, so that kind of stuff is awesome.
Mhm.
I love that was like the first time we got Stan Lee in an action scene. Besides like the first two Spider-Man movies where he's just like pulls someone out of the way for 2
Yeah, he
seconds.
just pulls the person
Yeah,
back.
I don't like those ones. But this one, he's like in the action scene. It's funny, And I also really, really like that action scene because it's very reminiscent of like the Ultimate Spider-Man. I just love when he fights in the school, and that one is like
Same
it's
here.
it's basically like
Absolutely.
in that first arc where he fights Green Goblin in the school. It's like that. It's like that same feel, except it's with Lizard instead of Green Goblin. So I was already really into that
Mhm.
scene, and then when that cameo came, it was just icing on the cake. And the fact that they do like a real stunt, because they do a lot more practical stuff in those movies. So I mean, obviously all the stuff happening behind him is CG, but what like right as he's walking out, they have a real stunt guy like fly right past him and hit the bookshelf like right after him. It was cool. I like that they went a little extra and did that. Hopefully Stan Lee didn't have to stay on set too long for that because he's an old man, so don't make him stand there. But and maybe they were able to comp him in. Maybe he wasn't actually there, but it looks cool when he flies right by him. So I like that one. I like it a lot. That's like my number 6. So yeah, Amazing Spider-Man.
No, it's fantastic. Yeah. My number 5, and I couldn't believe that this was making my list. It's the first Fantastic Four, and the big reason for that is because he actually plays a character from like those comics. He plays the
Dude,
mailman.
that's my next one
Eh,
as well. Yes,
Oh,
it's so
perfect.
good. He's actually playing a Marvel character. That's like the only time he does that. It was so cool.
Yeah.
What's it?
No, it's super
I can't remember his
cool.
name. What's his
Uh,
name? Is it Freddy?
oh, something like that. I can't remember. I'm not a huge FF guy,
Yeah, but
so
apparently the
I
mailman
don't.
is like a recurring character in the comics. So that
Yeah,
that
it
that's why it was
is.
so high on my list. I thought that was not only does he play a character that's important to the movie, but he also plays like a legacy character. Like that was really cool. And I think the only time he's ever done that
Yeah, no, I think it is too, and it's really fun because he always wanted to play Jameson, like back in the day
was
when he
younger.
was
Yeah.
writing that. So it's really cool that, like, while it wasn't that character, it's cool that he got to do a character that he created.
Yeah, that's really cool. That I mean, that was my number 5. So we were almost lined up. Is that no? We were both. That was both of our number 5s.
No, we're both on that. Yeah.
That yeah, it's such a cool one, and he looks so cool. That I actually put it in the thumbnail because he looks so cool as the mailman. He's got like the old fashioned blue mail suit on, and there was like when I was researching for the thumbnail, there's like this shot behind the scenes shot of him with like all four of the main cast, and he's got his arms wrapped around him. He's wearing the costume, so clearly he
Oh,
had a
that's
lot of fun
awesome.
shooting that day, and I mean that was back in '05, so he was a lot younger because he gets like a full. He's like, "Welcome back to the Baxter Building," or something. He gets like a full line. Um,
Yeah, he gets like a little like short scene, like it's a bit longer than his like usual
yeah,
cameos.
and he has good chemistry with Ian
Hmm.
Graffad. I have no idea how to say that guy's name, but
Gruffalo,
but yeah,
whatever.
they seem like they have. I mean, they seem like that he's been his mailman for a while. I mean, as much chemistry as you can have with your mailman. I don't know how much chemistry you can have with him, but yeah, that's a fun scene. I mean, obviously this movie is not great, but I have fond memories of this movie. Like 2005, I was like what 10, 11, and I loved the crap out of this movie when it first came out. But I haven't gone back to it in a while. So, um, but yeah, it's a cool cameo, and I don't like his cameo in the second one.
Oh,
Whoops.
my next one is fantastic.
Okay, well, no, go ahead and talk about it, and then I'll say why I don't like it because I'm not. It's not that it's done poorly, but go ahead. You talk about it first.
The big reason I picked it is just because it is his cameo from that comic.
Yeah,
Like they just
exactly.
took that cameo from the comic and put it in the movie. That's the big reason why it's there. I just thought that was fun.
I feel like such a
That
jerk
they
now.
adapted a
Yeah,
Stan
well,
Lee cameo.
and that's really cool. That's another meta thing, like the Captain Marvel thing, where they adapted a cameo. So yeah, my only thing is, and this is just a personal thing. This isn't like a.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
of course.
like in general. I don't like when like celebrities exist in fictional places. Like it always takes me
Mhm.
out. Um,
That's
so
fair.
yeah, I hate it when like I'm watching a sitcom or whatever, and they're talking about like there's like an actual celebrity or whatever, or when celebrities come on and like play themselves. So that's something that always takes me out. So like when he was actually playing Stan Lee, I was like, "Ugh, I don't like that very much. But I didn't actually. I know now that it was a kid, but at the time, 2007, I didn't know
Mhm.
that it was from the comics. So that is definitely really cool, and I don't begrudge them for doing that because that's really cool. But That's the only reason it didn't make my list, because I'm a weirdo and I don't like real people in my fiction
No,
lands.
I can understand that. That can be very strange. That's part of what I don't like about. So okay, all of his Iron Man cameos suck, and the first two
Well,
especially.
the first one is fine as a joke because it's like he's like looking good half. He turns around, it's not half, it's Stan Lee. But then in the second one, he's actually supposed to be what's his face? Larry King, because Happy literally says, "Here's Larry
like
King."
Flashes by in a second.
Yeah, that one's dumb anyway. But like he's like, "Here's Larry King." So like he's playing Larry King. Does that mean he's also playing Hef in the first one? It makes it all confusing and weird, and the third one's just dumb. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah. Well, and they cut his line from the first Iron Man too.
Oh, what does he say?
I don't know if you know about that. He's supposed to turn around and be like, "Oh, like why does everybody confuse us?"
Oh, see that
Like,
would
they
have
cut
explained it better. But then if they did that, they wouldn't have. So is he also supposed to be confused for Larry King in the second one? Stanley's just the celebrity that gets confused for everything, but he's dressed exactly like Larry King, so he's clearly supposed to be Larry King in that one. I don't know. That's
No, I don't think they knew what
so
was going on.
confusing in those movies. I don't like Iron Man 2 anyway, but yeah, that can't. And it's literally it's like literally 2 seconds. It's like it's just a frame.
Yeah, and like
then he's
Seth
gone.
Green is like he like flashes by for a second, and that they just like shoved cameos into that like really terribly shot
Yeah,
scene.
that's bad. I think of the three, I like the Hef one the best, but yeah, it still didn't make my list.
Oh, it's definitely the best. I wish they kept the line.
Yeah,
It's made retroactively worse by the second one.
It's really confusing. But yeah, Iron Man, spoiler alert, did not make my top 10. But cool. I love the fact that I just insulted your pick right before you gave it. That's great. I'm a great host.
That's perfect.
All right. My next one is another movie that a lot of people don't like from the old days. It is Hulk. 2003 Ang Lee's Hulk.
That didn't make my list, but that one is fun, especially because he's there with
Exactly. That's why it's here. It's a double cameo, and I love the 70s Hulk show. I've already mentioned it. I've already brought it up in this video. I love the 70s Hulk show, and this is a double cameo with him and Lou Ferrigno, and he's like yelling at Lou Ferrigno about how they need to up security, and Lou Ferrigno doesn't say anything. He's just like silent, but he's got like the tiniest little security guard shirt on, and he looks like he's about to burst the buttons. And Stan Lee's just like pointing and like yelling at him. Oh, it's so good.
And he's like 4 feet shorter.
He's so small. Oh, it's great. I love this one. I haven't gone back to this movie in a while. Watching through all the cameos
I haven't either.
actually is what like reminded me of this one. I remembered it, but like I didn't remember exactly how the scene plays. And like Bruce Banner's coming in with his stupid dorky bike helmet on, and he walks by. It's great. Like everything about that cameo is great. I love that one.
I can't remember offhand. Is Ferrigno in Incredible Hulk?
He is. He actually has a.
I know he's the voice of Hulk.
Yeah, well, that's awesome.
Oh, he's a
security guard. Yeah, he's a security guard again, and he's the big. He like lets him in because he gives him a pizza or whatever.
That's right.
He actually gets a bigger role in that movie because that movie's like full of references to the 70s show. Like that, he clearly is. It's like a love letter to the 70s show. Yeah, which is why I like it so much. But yeah, not that movie. This movie, 2003's Hulk, is my number 4. Surprised to see it that high, but you get Ferrigno in there. You get some comedy. I like it. It's good. And I said, I like the ones where he's actually like a person and not just like. Well, I guess that one is kind of more of a joke. He's not really essential to the plot in that one. He's just walking out the door at the same time. But anyway,
No, he's more essential to the other Hulk movie,
exactly.
But his moment is really fun in that first Hulk film.
Yeah, it's funny.
My number 3 is my Stan Lee can't act. This is why I love this cameo moment. It's Guardians 2.
See, and that's another thing like him actually playing himself that I wouldn't like because it's like you don't actually have to explain that the cameos are like a real thing.
That it's all connected.
Yeah. So that's why I bumped it off my list. But no, he's hilarious. Like, come on, guys. Oh, I got more stories.
Oh, gee. That's my favorite is when he just looks down and he's just like, oh.
It's cool though that he got to be like in a big, huge like special effects shot though. Like just like the Amazing Spider-Man one, like the fact that he's surrounded by Watchers in
and
space.
he's like in the space
Yeah.
suit. It looks awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. I just had to like, sometimes I just have to stick with my principles and be like, well, I don't like when they explain things, so, but I do like that. That one is fun. I do like that one, and the fact that it's like a double cameo, like it comes back at the end, is really cool.
Yeah, I like that. It's not because I know a lot of people wanted him to just be the Watcher,
No, he's the Watcher's
and I
informant.
like that they didn't. Yeah, I like that they didn't go that far, and he's not like, oh, like I am the
No.
Watcher, and he like turns into
That would
that.
have been amazing if he like shapeshifted into a big head.
But I don't know. It is cool to see him like next to the Watchers in his little spacesuit.
Yeah. Well, and it's so
They get the continuity wrong, but whatever.
yeah. Well, because if you look at the end credits, it says like Watcher's informant. So like, did they just grab people and like say, hey, this is your job now. You have to like go all around the universes and tell us about stuff that's going on, and you have no choice in the matter, because he doesn't seem like it. He seems like he's loving his job. He's like, yeah. I don't know.
Well, it makes it funnier because he's just like, yeah, I was a delivery man at one point.
Yeah. What would have been crazy is if they had referenced other cameos, and like if he had said,
Oh, from like another
he-
movie, like another. Like,
if he had said I
universe?
was a security guard one, well, I guess that's too vague. Like if he had said something like oh, I was playing the
One
mailman.
time this kid stopped me before I walked out into the street.
Yeah. If he had like mentioned something outside, the internet would have went crazy and been like, "Oh, the multiverse
Oh,
confirmed.
absolutely.
Oh, he's in. It's true." Which they're probably doing that anyway. Trying to find some way to make that work so they can get a YouTube video out of it with red circles and arrows.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's a good one. It didn't fit my sensibilities, but I definitely enjoy watching it. It did take me out though because it's like so unnecessary. Like they're literally just the ship is just flying by, and then we stop and like go to this planet for a second while he's just talking to them. And it's apparently like it's like a Looney Tunes cartoon where they're just like sitting on top of the planet. Like because you can the spaceship goes by and they're just like sitting on top of a planet like Bugs Bunny does, or like a Looney Tune does. Like that's not how planets work. You don't actually sit on the planet. You have to like zoom in like a lot to see humans on a planet. It's really funny. But
Yeah, and that's like the entire basis for the after credit scenes of Gunn's Peacemaker show, because they're all just like you have like a joke in it, and then the after credit scene is just that joke, but like
longer.
a second after.
Oh.
Yeah, like how that Stan Lee one plays
Cool.
it. So he, I guess, just really liked that as a
Yeah,
format.
it seems like he just let Stan Lee roll for like probably an hour, like half an hour, and just like recorded a bunch of stuff, and then they put it into 2 different cameos. But that movie has a bunch of cameos at the end anyway, so it fits in perfectly. Is that your number 3?
That is
Wow,
my
top
number
three,
3.
top 3.
Yes, it's listed as number 2, but I have 2 things under it. So
Hey, I didn't say he could count, but he can be a good co-host, so we let him on. My next one,
I'm Canadian.
they count differently in Canada. All right, my next one was just mentioned, and it is Incredible Hulk. And of course, I love this one because it is like he's like an essential plot point in this one. He's like the reason they find the Hulk.
He's what gets the ball.
Yeah, he's
rolling.
the starts the whole movie because he's the reason that they find Incredible Hulk in South America. And so way to go, Stan Lee. Well, it's not actually his fault. He's a victim because Bruce Banner dropped his blood at the bottling plant, and then it's a whole thing. You should watch this movie. It's a really good movie if you don't know what I'm talking about. But
it's like one of the only. Actually, I think it is the only one that he gets that's like really dramatic.
It's shot.
Dramatic,
it's
like,
shot
close-up of
really
him, and he's
well.
like,
Like zooms in, and he drops in like the slow mo, and the bottle explodes, and it's like cool angles and stuff. Like it's like not even a cameo. It's like that's what I'm saying. If it would have been in the movie anyway, and it's just like shot like another scene. It's not shot like, oh, put him in front of a green screen and like do this cameo real quick because we have to do it. Like this was early enough. Well, I guess not. I guess '08. A bunch of the like non-MCU movies had already been doing it because the Iron Man one is kind of like that. It's just lame. But yeah, I love this. I love that they put so much effort into finding a place to put him in the movie that actually makes sense instead of, and it's like one of the only ones that it's not like a big crowd pleaser like joke, or you don't laugh when he comes on. It's just like, oh, it's like for a second you're like, oh, and then it's like, oh crap, he just died.
killed Stan Lee.
But yeah, I love this one. It helps that this is like one of my favorite MCU movies, just like one and done,
It's
standalone.
criminally underrated.
So underrated, right? It's so
Mm.
good. It's like, and I'm not even a big action movie guy, but like, but I just love the '70s show, and I love Hulk as a character, and the fact that it's like an homage to the '70s show, but it's so serious, man. Phase one was so much better. What happened? Like phase one is like a
What
completely
happened to
different.
Hulk
Oh
especially?
yeah, well Hulk is just a joke now. Um, but I love this movie. But we're not talking about that. We're just talking about the cameos, and this is a fantastic cameo. Everyone should learn from this cameo. Make it actually important.
So I guess I'll just throw this out. I've already passed all the Marvel movies stuff. That's going to be in my cameo list.
Ooh, what a tease!
My number two is a tie. Because I was like, they're similar enough ideas. I'll just slap them together. But it's Stan Lee in both the PS1 Spider-Man game and Shattered Dimensions, where he plays the narrator.
I
I,
forgot about that, dude.
I
Oh, I wasn't even thinking non-movie. Like I was thinking TV shows because he was in the Spider-Man show, but I didn't even think
yeah.
about that. Of course, that would be like way high on my list. I played the crap out of that Spider-Man PS1 game.
Well, I
That's
had
still
to
my
debate
favorite
with
Spider-Man game.
myself.
I know it's blasphemy, but that's still my favorite Spider-Man game to this day. Like I love
It's
that game.
wonderful. No, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, he
I
recorded
agree.
so much audio for that game. Like he's doing like the I don't know if you've done like the tutorial or like he does the tutorial. He does like there's like bonus stuff. That game's like loaded with bonus
That game
content.
had the whole what if mode where it's like
Yeah, there's a
just
what
some
if
things are
mode.
slightly different.
Yeah, and there's like a training mode where he talks and you're just like
Yeah.
shooting cardboard cutouts of villains. That game is bonkers. I love that game. But
No,
yeah,
that was part of it. I was like, is this maybe going too far? Like it's more than a cameo. And then I kind of
yeah,
looked
maybe.
up like how much he's in like the actual main story, and he had 4 minutes of time, and like not all of it was him talking. So I was like, I'll stretch the definition.
No, we'll count it. I'm glad you brought it up because I completely forgot about it. But he opens the game. Like
Mhm.
he's like
He
the
opens
tutorial voice.
several levels, yeah, where it's
Yeah.
just like it's almost like issues, right? Where it's
Oh yeah, yeah.
like oh, like true believers, like Spider-Man's on the run from the police, or like oh, Scorpion's after J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm such a hypocrite because I like that stuff so much more in that game, but when they do it in the movies, I'm like, yeah, it's a little too cheesy when you actually say his lines. but
Oh, for sure.
yeah, I'm so glad you wow, you
It
just
also
took
works
me on
because
a
it's like a video game
yeah,
too.
yeah.
So those games are super tongue in cheek. At least that the
Yeah.
PS1
Well,
game.
to this day, he's still my favorite Spider-Man voice actor, Rhino Romano, because
He's one of mine.
I played that.
I got some stuff a while back because I listed him as
What?
a better Spider-Man voice actor over the PS4 guy.
Oh, he's way
But
better.
I agree.
And it's probably just because I grew up with that game, and it's like that's what Spider-Man sounds like in my head. Like if I read a comic, that's just like what he sounds like. Um,
Hmm. No, absolutely.
and of
And
course,
then
Venom
Shattered
in that movie is
Dimensions,
just
of
amazing.
course, he's also the narrator.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a good game too. I remember liking that one.
I think he probably gets less to do, but I think he's more of a bookend.
Mm,
At least like bookend of each chapter. But
okay.
it's still pretty fun that they let him do that.
I feel like if Shattered Dimensions was an open world game, it would be like way remembered way better. I think that's the only thing against it
Yeah.
because I really like that game.
No, I agree.
But
That's one of
you
the
can't
few
really go
things
back to
where I
play.
like the multiverse thing, and it's more because it's a video game, so it's just kind of like,
Yeah,
whatever.
it's
Like
just an excuse to play as all the
exactly,
different characters, which is fun.
exactly.
But it's hard to replay. Like I try to replay it, and like you just get like halfway through the Craven. You get through Craven, and you're like, yeah, okay, I'm done. Like because you can't just go wherever you want. You just have to do the whole story again.
Yeah, you just
So
gotta keep replaying it.
replay value is not great. But I never finished the Edge of Time sequel to that, where you're just
I played it once. I played Shattered Dimensions more.
yeah, me
I've
too.
also heard Edge of Time is a better story, which would make sense because that's a Peter David game,
And it's just a
and Shattered
story.
Dimensions
Shattered
stands a lot.
Dimensions is not a story. It's just like, whoa, we got a lot of villains. We got a lot of Spider-Mans. Let's put them in.
Yeah, exactly. It's more just like fan servicey, but
Yeah.
it's fun when it's a video game. You just kind of enjoy the ride.
But that's funny that he got to do those too because Shattered Dimensions is like a spiritual successor almost to that PS1 game because they're very similar. Like
Mhm.
they're just a straightforward story and there's like a lot of different villains, and then because in that, I mean, he famously says, "What is this? The bad guy Olympics?" in that PS1 game because there's so many villains in that game. But yeah, I never thought about that. That's kind of like the same kind of game. And you also can only swing like straight. You can't really like control where you swing because they got rid of that.
Yeah,
It's
they
not
dropped
open
that
world
with
game.
two because the first movie game, I don't know if you know this, but the first movie game I think initially started as a remaster of the PS1 game, and then they were like,
Oh,
"Oh, we'll turn it into a movie game,"
that makes
and
sense
so
because that
that's why it
first,
starts like that.
yeah, it
Yeah.
starts the exact same way. Like it's on the rooftops and there's like smoke
Mm.
on the bottom and you just fall to your death.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why you have the kind of mechanics for that. And then partway through making that, this one guy goes, "Hey, I have this cool swinging mechanic. Can we incorporate this?" And they were like, "Ah, no, it's too late. That
Yeah,
completely changes the game."
I've
And
seen that
then that's
video.
what it
Yeah,
was the basis for two.
yeah, I've seen that video. They're just like, nah, dude, that's too much. Just wait for the next one.
Yeah, exactly. Next time,
And
and
then
it worked out.
we've had it in every Spider-Man game since, except for Shattered Dimensions and Edge of Time, which is why that game feels so similar to the PS1 game.
Yeah, exactly. It was very boil it down to basics after like just kind of doing the open world thing over and over.
Yeah, it is cool. I like that we have a lot of different kinds of Spider-Man games because most of the Spider-Man games are very similar. Um,
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's fun when you can get something different out of them.
all right. Well, actually, yeah, Hulk was my last MCU film, so this is not going to be the MCU film, but it is a Marvel film, and it is another like comic reference, which is why it is in here. It is. You already mentioned it. It's Daredevil. I
Almost made my list.
I
I
love
went
this.
thinking it's gonna be there, and then it just wasn't.
It is. It's not only like a comic reference. It's like Daredevil's origin. Like because they changed because they had to change the origin because they in all of these movies they kind of had to change the origin to make it more than just like two panels. They had to like flesh it out a little bit. So his origin is different. But in the original comics, I believe his origin was like he saves an old man from this like pushes him out of the way of the truck and then the truck hits him and then that's where he loses his sight. So he's already got his powers in this scene, in this cameo scene, but he still saves the old man, and then the old man drops the newspaper, and it's Stan Lee. Oh, it's so cool. He doesn't get to speak, but yeah, that's kind of how the early ones were. So 2003, I have two cameos from 2003 that they're pretty high on my list.
That was a good
That's a
year.
good year for Mr. Lee. I really like this one. I love that it's a like Austin said about the Fantastic Four when it's a comic. It's basically a comic adaptation of the origin, just like compressed into a little cameo scene. And his look is just priceless. Like he's like, "What's this
It's
stupid
so
kid
perfect.
touching me with his cane?" And then the truck goes by, and it's like, "Oh!" It's great. I love it.
Yeah, no, when we started, and I was like, X-Men Apocalypse, like right after I said it, I was like, wait a minute, Daredevil should probably be here.
Oh well, I got it.
I made a mistake, I'm sure.
No worries, I got it on my list, and we were able to. That's kind. I mean, we only had one
got
crossover.
there.
I'm really happy about that because we got to talk about basically 20 cameos instead of 10. So that's
Yeah, I think Fantastic Four and Amazing Spider-Man was the only real
yeah, that's
crossover
true.
we've
That's true.
had.
We had two, but yeah, another movie that nobody likes anymore. But yeah, that
I think it's
the
okay.
director's cut is pretty
I
good.
liked that movie a lot as a kid.
Well,
That probably
Well, I
helped.
understand if you only saw the theatrical cut why you would despise this, but the director's cut helps a lot. A lot more Foggy Nelson, a lot more actual detective stuff going on. And anyway, we're not talking about the movies, we're talking about the cameos. And the cameo in this one is great. Go back and watch it if you haven't. YouTube it.
My number one is not even a Marvel thing. It's The Princess Diary.
What?
No, it's his episode in The Simpsons.
See? Oh, of course, of course. See, but I can't even like I can't even not take you seriously when you say that's the problem with Austin is like he could have put Princess Diaries as his number one, and I wouldn't even been able to say anything. But no, of course, The Simpsons. I should have known. I didn't know that existed until you posted that GIF the other day in the Discord.
Yeah, his cameo in The Simpsons is one of the best they've ever done. He gets like two scenes. So in his first scene, he comes into the comic book shop, and the whole plot of that is Bart's trying to make his own comic, and Stanley looks at it and he's like, "Geez, kid, this comic stinks." But keep working though. You can get there eventually. I didn't make Fantastic Four as my first comic. And then he just walks around the comic book shop, like putting Marvel things over DC things.
That's amazing.
And there's this part that's really great where you have this kid. He's got like his little Batmobile toy. I think it's the '60s Batmobile, and he's looking for a Batman toy to fit it. And Stanley walks up to him and he's like, "You don't need a Batman. You can have this nice thing toy." And the kid's like, "But the thing doesn't fit in my Batmobile." And Stanley grabs it and he shoves it in and breaks his Batmobile. And of course, the best part about his entire episode is the ending, because Bart eventually makes his comic called Angry Dad, which is based on Homer,
Yeah.
and he like keeps making Homer more and more mad so he can make comics about it. And eventually, he does this thing where he like knocks Homer into this trap, which eventually puts him into a bunch of green paint, so he looks like the Hulk. And he loses it and he runs around town angry, and one of the characters goes, "Oh my god, it's the Hulk." And Stanley walks out and goes, "He's not the Hulk, I'm the Hulk."
What?
And he starts trying to rip his clothes off.
Wow. Okay, so it's not even just a cameo. It's like he's got like a whole episode almost.
He probably gets like 2 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
They kind of split his cameo into two sections, but it's really fun.
That's really cool.
They put some great lines in that. They're typically really good with their comic cameos, because Alan Moore also gets a like really wonderful cameo in a
Oh, really?
episode that really sucks.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, people in the chat are saying that I should watch this one because it's amazing.
Yeah, and it's
But
like season 13, so it's even past like the classic era. It's just
wow.
a fun.
Yeah, I have never seen any Simpsons, so there's no way I would have seen that cameo. But yeah, I should maybe check it out. The person on YouTube didn't include it in the master list of cameos that I watched.
Yeah,
He
well,
was
there's
just
like a bunch of like random ones. Like I know he's in like Big Bang Theory and stuff. His thing in that I
weird.
think sucks, but
I would.
it's like an entire
sorry, Stanley.
episode based on like trashing the alliterative naming thing,
Ugh.
and then he shows up at the end and he's like, "I am Stanley."
Oh, that's terrible. Those people would love as like the characters that those people are supposed to be would love Stanley. They wouldn't be making fun of his stuff unless
It's
it's like other characters.
I think some of them like him, and like one of them is just like, "Oh, Stanley, like Peter Parker, Green Goblin, like what a like lazy, like terrible naming system." And it's like,
Yeah,
no nerd would ever think that, because
Yeah,
we
no-
all know he did that so that he could remember their names.
And so that history could remember them. They're all super recognizable names, and it worked, and they're amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, yeah, we're not here to bash Big Bang Theory cameos. We're here to celebrate the good cameos, and that's awesome. I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't even know about that, so that's really cool.
Mhm.
My favorite has not been mentioned yet or brought up at all. Of course, it's a Spider-Man thing because I'm me.
Oh, it's Spider-Man 3, isn't it?
No, someone actually in the chat said that was their favorite one, so I'm gonna bring that up in a second. Let me know in the chat what your favorite is, because I'm gonna talk about that at the end of this, because we're almost done here. But my number one is Spider-Verse. Oh my goodness,
Oh,
I
went over my head.
love this
assumed you were-
one.
Yeah.
so much. This is the first one that came out after he died, or at least the first one I saw after he died. So as soon as he showed up, I was already like tearing up. And then the fact that he has a line that is not only a hilarious joke. You haven't even seen this, have you? Because you can't watch this movie.
I saw that cameo. I also watched like a video of
Okay.
Stan Lee Cameos, and it was short enough and it wasn't flashy enough that it was like messing with me. So I was fine watching that scene.
Yeah, it sucks that your eyes do something, because this is one of my favorite movies ever. But
Mhm.
it's a joke that's hilarious in the scene, but it also is the theme of the movie wrapped up in a joke, like, because the whole movie is like anyone can be Spider-Man, and he's like putting on a Spider-Man costume, and he's like, it always fits. And then it's because there's no refund. It like pans over, and then the joke is revealed that's because there's no refunds ever. Like it's a hilarious joke. It's a meaningful like scene for Miles. It's like like we said with the Incredible Hulk one. It's like the whole reason that Miles like goes on his journey in his character arc, and it was super emotional for me, and I like teared up in the theater because he had just passed away. So like this had to be my number one. This one ticks all the boxes. And
Yeah,
I
for
am
sure.
really glad that this one came together the way that it did. Not that it's like not I'm not saying like good on them for doing it. Not I'm not happy he died, but like I'm just saying he did die, and because of that, it elevates this one even more. It probably would have been pretty high on my list anyway. Maybe still my number one, but yeah,
Just
the fact
adds
that
that emotional
yeah,
connection.
and a lot of these I'm still remembering the moment in the theater, how I felt in the theater, and this is definitely one of those.
Oh, for
Like I
sure.
said, the Captain Marvel one was one of those. So yeah, like for theater moments in general that I'll never forget, because this is a great theater experience for me in general because I freaking love this movie. But that's my number one. All around, great cameo. Definitely strive for that. Strive for Incredible Hulk. Strive for Princess Diaries. I don't even know what that is. Is there really one in Princess Diaries?
Yeah, it's like the Fantastic Four 2 one. They're doing a wedding, and he's like, "Let me in, I'm Stan Lee," and they're like, "What? Get out of here." I think.
Oh, so it's just the Fantastic Four one.
Maybe he's allowed to go in the wedding, but it is like that kind of a thing. Like he's waiting to get in this wedding, and
Wow.
it's one of the
So
most
Stan Lee is just a wedding
strangest
crasher.
cameos.
Yeah. What is the Venn diagram for people watching Princess Diaries? They're like, oh, it's Stan Lee. Like, what year was that?
Well, I'm not sure. I think it was also like Princess Diaries 2. Like,
Like straight to DVD?
like it's very weird.
Yeah. Well, yeah, someone brought that one up. I don't know if he was serious or not in the chat, but yeah.
He must have been
Um
filming something down down the lane and
maybe
stuff
just the
too, though.
director was just a big fan and wanted to shoot with Stan Lee.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe something like that.
Oh, Code Anime fan in the chat predicted that my number one would be Spider-Verse. Hey, well, you know me well, sir. It's a great cameo.
Yeah,
And he
I
also
would
says,
have guessed that, but I only just saw that for the first time today, so like I wouldn't have even thought of that.
yeah, it's so good in the movie too.
Hmm.
Um, it's right after Peter Parker just dies, so you're already like feeling the feels. Um, yeah, here we go. So Code Anime fans' favorite is Spider-Man 3. Um, like I said, I can't like the ones where they just. We should probably get into some of our honorable mentions really quick and wrap this video up. But nothing against you for your pick for Spider-Man 3, but like the ones where he just like they give him, and it's not his fault either. They just give him like the cheesiest thing ever to say in that one, and it's like he comes out of nowhere and he's just like, let me just tell this random person like a moral for no reason. It takes me
Yeah.
out so much out of that movie. Not that I was into that movie very much, but.
No, I've always thought his Spider-Man 3 cameo was just schmaltzy and just kind of like, eh.
Yeah,
I
it's
know
like
a
we
lot
just
of people
stopped the
love that
movie.
though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, especially after he's passed away, and it means more. But like it just like stop the movie just like comes to a halt, and then like Stanley just talks to Tobey Maguire, and Tobey Maguire's like, and then it just starts again. So it always took me out. But I know a lot of people like it,
I
so I won't
guess he
talk.
gets to say enough said. We don't typically give him the catchphrases, but
Yeah, well, we got enough said in there, and then the other one that does that is Age of Ultron, where he says Excelsior, and that's another one where I'm just like, wow, we're going on way too long with this joke because he's like he talks to Thor for a little bit, and then he gets drunk, and then he like slurs. I'm like, oh, this is too much. This takes me out.
mhm.
But I'm sure some people like that one too, just because he was able to say Excelsior. But what are some of your honorable mentions, or like some that just missed your list?
So a lot of them we've already talked about, stuff like Daredevil,
Yeah.
both Hulk ones. One we haven't talked about is Deadpool, which is not like a great one. I just like the fact that they got Stan Lee in to say, "You can't buy love, but you can rent it." I think that's kind of funny.
Oh, he says that. I thought his one was like next on the stage is
It
chastity.
is, but then right after, it like cuts and he's like, you can hear him saying it in the background.
Oh, okay. I didn't. They must have been cut out of my video,
Yeah,
of the
the
video that I
video I watched,
watched.
we actually may have watched the same video
We
because
probably
it
did. It's
was
YouTube. I just
exactly.
Googled the first one.
Click the first one exactly.
Yeah, I didn't remember that because I haven't seen Deadpool since the theater.
Yeah, and I don't really like the Deadpool movies, but that was always one of those jokes that stuck out to me. Like, it was kind of funny that he got to say that. I guess that's something.
Yeah, mine that I mentioned Homecoming was like my number 11. Like I really wanted to get that one on there. Another one that's not like great, but he actually has a really good delivery is Black Panther. Like he just kind of
Oh,
like,
people got really mad about that one
oh
too.
really? Oops, am I about to get canceled?
Yeah. Yeah, you're already. You mentioned that movie, you're done.
Well, he slides like they're at the casino, and he like just slides off camera. He's like, let me just hold on to these for safekeeping, and then just like slides out. It makes me laugh the way his delivery is pretty good, and he just like slides out.
No, I like that
why are
one.
people
It's
mad at
pretty
it?
funny. Because there was articles about how it was this old white guy profiting off of the success of a black guy because Black Panther comes in, like does his thing, wins, and then walks away, and then Stanley comes over and takes his money.
Oh my gosh.
People are dumb.
Yeah, it's
It's
a
a fun
joke
movie.
cameo of like a crazy old guy. Like he's Stan Lee. He has to be a white guy because Stan Lee's white. That's hilarious. I didn't know about that, but yeah, that one made me laugh. And then another one that I didn't remember at all because I watched this entire movie from my memory was also mentioned in the chat by Tom. Can I have my shoe back? The one in Thor, what is it? Dark World? Thor Dark World. Which, like I said, I don't remember at all, but like watching it back where it just pans over. I like that it pans over and it's not like obvious. It doesn't like zoom into Stan Lee right away.
No, he's just kind of
he's just over there with a bunch of other crazy old people, and then it like doubles down and like he says the funny line about his shoe. That one's kind of funny. I'm never gonna rewatch that movie, so I'm glad I saw that cameo again in a video. And then
no, that was like one of the highlights of that movie.
yeah, that's a great one. And then Tom said he liked that one. And then another one that I like, not necessarily because of the joke, but because of Rhodey's reaction to it, is Civil War. When he calls him Tony Stank, and Rhodey's like, never letting that go, by the way. Thank you for that. And then he's like, reservation for two, Tony Stank, put him by the bathroom. Like he just like ad libs for a minute after that, and he makes Robert Downey Jr. laugh and stuff. So that one's really funny to me.
No, that one's pretty good. I kind of like the Avengers one. I think I have that like sentimental value thing to that more so now. Because I don't know if you've seen that like the tribute thing that they put out when they re-released Endgame.
I didn't. The one that was like when it went back to theaters and they added that.
Yeah, when it went back to theaters. Yeah,
I don't think I have.
It's on Disney Plus. I think it's under the extras of that movie.
Oh, cool.
But that ends with like I think Kevin Feige walks out like after they like call cut on that scene, and he's just like, Stan Lee, everybody, and they just have like a nice moment. So it like kind of also like boosts it up because it's just him turning and being like, superheroes in New York,
give me a break.
Which is already kind of funny. But
yeah, and there was another that was like a second cameo that they had to do because his first one got cut, right? Like he actually like
I actually don't know about that.
Oh yeah, watch the deleted scenes of the first Avengers, and and
did it again.
There's actually when Captain America's like wandering the streets like moping, he actually like talks to Stan Lee about
I have no idea about
the girl that he's with. He like makes a joke to him, and I think because they cut that scene, they had to shoot another one, or maybe he was just going to be in it twice. I don't know, but yeah, check that scene out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I'll have to look into that.
And I think I liked it better. That's why I don't like the Avengers cameo, because I think I liked the scene better. But I don't know. I haven't gone back to it in a while. It wasn't in the video that we watched for this. The only prep we did was that YouTube video.
We watched this video.
Which we should be plugging his channel, but we're not because I don't remember what it was. But
it was 15 minutes. Go find this video. It's 15 minutes.
Yeah, that was the one.
Stan Lee cameos.
It's the one that says like all Marvel movies in one DC movie because it's
and it ends with Teen Titans Go. Exactly.
Anyway, here we go, plugging this guy's video. We're already at an hour. We should probably wrap this video up, but thanks for doing this with me, dude. It was
a lot of fun.
That was fun, and it was a weird thing to prep for. It was much more laid back than some of the, I don't know, but I guess I took it pretty seriously. But like when we're doing like top 10 movies of something of all time, I feel like a lot more pressure. This was kind of just like, this will be fun.
No, I had that with when we did the fantasy ones, where it's like, oh god, like, oh, what am I gonna put? I hope I don't put something stupid, and then I'm gonna realize afterwards, like, oh, that was a mistake.
Yeah, that's the worry. But no, this one was fun. Hopefully we don't get. I mean, maybe we will get attacked in the comments for our stupid answers. Maybe everyone loves the Spider-Man 3 one, and we're just weirdos. I don't know.
Everyone will just get mad at me for putting one where he's like, "Ah, gee." It's one of the top ones.
All
Over
right.
Spider-Man 3.
Well, we did it. That's the video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let us know what your favorite. You don't have to do a full top 10, but you can if you want. But just let us know what a few of your favorites are in the comments because I'm interested to. And let us know if there's like some weird ones because apparently there's one in like someone in the live chat mentioned yoga hosers. Yoga hosers, like he's in that. I didn't even know that. I know that's like a
What?
Kevin Smith movie or something, so it makes sense.
Oh, I guess just 'cause Kevin Smith.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know he was. I didn't know he had one. So let us know your weird like unknown Stan Lee cameos because I thought I knew them all, but apparently I didn't. And I completely forgot about the Spider-Man game, which I'm mad at myself for doing that. That's gonna bump Big Hero 6 or First Avenger off the list, I guess, because I got to put that in if it counts.
It's debatable. He gets more of a cameo in the PS4 game, but I don't think that one's as good.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that too. Man, he's been everywhere, dude. He's been in shows, movies.
Oh
His
yeah.
IMDb page is like stacked, and he's never even been an actor. He's got a longer IMDb page than most actors.
Yeah, you could easily look at it and be like, wow, this is like a really successful actor.
Well, he is, and he's great, and we love him, and we miss him. And this video was actually supposed to come back out a few months ago, like around his birthday. But like I said, we couldn't get it to come together. So I'm glad we finally did it. And hopefully you'll join me again soon, Austin. We can do some other
Anytime, man.
top 10 lists or maybe some commentaries. That would be fun. Some watch alongs or something. But yeah, thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next video. This was Austin.
Goodbye, everybody. Excelsior.
Enough said. See you guys. All right, we are clear.